You're standing in your kitchen with no idea why you came here. The fridge is open. Your hand is on the counter. 30 seconds ago, you had a thought clear enough to carry you across the house. Now it's gone. Not blurry, not fragmented. Gone. You can feel the shape of where it used to be, but the contents have vanished. Science called this absent-mindedness for a long time. It isn't. What happened in that doorway turns out to say something precise, and something strange, about how your brain has been organizing your life all along. Your brain is not a recording device. It doesn't capture experience as one continuous stream, played back with equal clarity from start to finish. Instead, it organizes your life into episodes, discrete, bounded chunks that neuroscientists call event files. Inside your hippocampus, a structure roughly the size of your thumb, responsible for memory encoding, those files are being opened and sealed constantly, using cues from the environment to decide when one chapter ends and another begins. Changes in goal, gaps in time, shifts in location. At this exact moment, every doorway you walk through is functioning as a form of cognitive punctuation. But here's the thing. For most of scientific history, that sentence would have sounded absurd. Most researchers assumed doorways were architecturally neutral. A threshold was just a threshold, a structural fact with no cognitive weight. In 2011, a psychologist named Gabriel Radvansky at the University of Notre Dame set out to test that assumption, expecting nothing. He asked participants to carry objects between tables and recall what they'd been holding. Clean task, clean results. Then he redesigned the experiment so the same distance required crossing a doorway. Same objects, same instructions, same task load. The forgetting doubled. Not nudged upward, doubled. He then moved the entire study into a virtual environment, a simulated house rendered on a screen, and stripped away every physical variable. The effect held. The doorway alone was doing it. His conclusion was precise. The brain treats each threshold as an event boundary, a signal that one episode has closed and a new one has begun. In closing that file, it archives what you were thinking in the previous room. Not erased, stored. Behind a door you just walked through. His response to his own findings was blunt. He said, "Entering or exiting through a doorway serves as an event boundary, even for mental events." Now let's pause here, because this is where the science meets something much harder to explain. Most people assume that forgetting why they walked into a room means the memory never fully formed, that they were distracted or half present. That's not what the research shows. You were paying attention. The memory formed. The brain filed it away, on purpose. From the outside, what you experienced looks like ordinary forgetting. From the inside, the information was never lost. It was sealed behind a boundary your brain drew without asking you. Forgetting across a doorway isn't a failure of memory. It is a feature of how memory is organized. The brain keeps your episodes from bleeding into one another, keeps the kitchen from contaminating the hallway. In theory, that's efficient. In practice, it means you stand in a room every day holding the hollow shape of a thought you can no longer reach. A woman named Ruth Carmichael, then 71 years old and living with early-stage dementia, was documented by her neurologist over 18 months at a clinic in Bristol. Her daughter had noticed something specific. Seated in one room, Ruth could follow and retain full conversations. The moment she crossed a threshold, the thread snapped. Functional MRI imaging showed that her event boundary response had become pathologically amplified, the doorway effect running at a volume most of us never reach. Ruth described it once, in her daughter's journal. She wrote, "It's not that I forget. It's like someone changes the chapter and I can't find the page I was on." She was writing about her mind. She might have been writing about everyone's. This raises a question that science still cannot fully answer. If the brain is actively deciding what survives each threshold, what determines what gets left behind? Let's go back to the doorway. The moment you cross it, your hippocampus fires what researchers now call an event boundary signal. Within roughly 200 milliseconds, faster than a blink, the active event file begins to close. Working memory, the short-term workspace that holds your immediate intentions, begins suppressing its contents. By the time you've taken 4 steps into the new room, the previous context is partially inaccessible. Not gone. A 2017 study by Radvansky and cognitive neuroscientist Jeffrey Sachs at Washington University confirmed that returning to the original room partially restores access. The space itself is a retrieval queue. This is why walking back to where you started sometimes surfaces the thought immediately, as though it had been waiting there. In 2022, researcher Julianne Nagala at the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences found that emotionally neutral intentions are the most vulnerable to doorway forgetting. Stakes matter. Your brain forgets why you walked into the kitchen. It does not forget the day you stood in a doorway and the phone rang. The researchers who study this effect don't come back talking about memory failure. They come back talking about architecture, about how the brain carves continuous experience into scenes and uses every threshold as a page turn. The forgetting isn't the flaw. The forgetting is the punctuation. You cross a doorway and lose a thought, and it feels like your mind has let you down. But your mind hasn't let you down. It has decided that chapter is finished. Most of what fills those chapters is unremarkable. Kitchens, hallways, ordinary rooms you crossed 10,000 times without noticing. The brain marked each one down anyway. Not the extraordinary days, the Tuesday afternoons, the rooms you walked into holding something small and ordinary that the next doorway quietly took from you.